Hi, before we begin today's video, I'm fully aware that the ISO was going crazy throughout the whole video, so no need to comment. I'm very sorry. I'll do better in the next one. Okay, bye.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Trev Barnes. Thank you so much for stopping by for another video today. So this is not my usual recording setup. Micah and I are currently moving, so I'm set up in our dining room until further notice, until we are in a new house. So there's definitely been some limitations in my recording, but hey, we're here now. I've been getting a handful of DMs lately from new people to the channel who are starting out in production and maybe have some questions. So I thought it'd be fun to go on Reddit, which I don't go on Reddit ever. Maybe when I need like my fridge fixed, then I'm trying to find out how someone did it. It's where you get your best answers usually. But I thought we would go on there, maybe answer some music production questions from my perspective. Maybe you guys have the same questions. Maybe this is a dumb video. I don't know. I'm making it all up as I go. But anyway, let's see what questions the internet has in music production. So the first one here is, what was your life changer tip for vocal mix? I think a big one for me was that you don't have to have like 50,000 plugins on your vocals. If something sounds good to your ears, then it sounds good no matter what you do to it. There's been vocals I've done before where I've literally just put an EQ on it. Now, obviously there's some standards when you're recording like pop music or rap that you have to have these shining upfront in your face vocals. But I try to encourage people to just listen to what the song needs and put that on there. You don't need to put 50,000 plugins on anything ever, unless you want to. I know I've talked about it before, but the Klanghelm MJUC Jr. is a free compressor and it sounds literally amazing on whatever you put on it. It emulates a tube compressor, but if I'm ever feeling like my vocals just need a little extra push, I usually put this plugin on there. Go try it for yourself. It's a great plugin. Are there too many plugins? Yes, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing innovation and cool new things. But I think for a lot of people who are just getting into production, I think that could overwhelm them very easily. I mean, even me, I've been in production for a long time and I still get overwhelmed by how many different options I have to practically do the same thing. It's kind of like scrolling through Netflix, not being able to find something to watch. So then you go to Hulu, you scroll through it, not be able to find anything to watch. Sometimes it can feel like that. That's why I kind of speak so highly of Slate's virtual mix rack, because those are legit the only plugins that I ever use now. Or even stock plugins in your DAW. There's enough in there usually. Like when I first got Logic, I mean, I didn't get my first plugin until I've had the program for 2 years. So you don't need external plugins. It's nice to have them, but just know that you can do pretty much any of the stuff with the stock stuff that you have. Just got my first audio interface. What monitors should I get? Ooh. So if you're curious to what monitors I use the PreSonus Iris, Eris? They're 3.5 inch monitors. They cost about $100 for the pair and they sound really good. These are actually the first pair of studio monitors that I ever got. I think I've used these for about 10 years now, and I've never really felt the need to upgrade. I'm sure I will one day, but these do an amazing job. And like I said, they're $100. There's a lot of budget studio monitors out there. Like everybody raves about the KRKs, but anytime I've used them, they just feel like they're lying to me. And what I mean by that is I feel like they're a little too bass heavy. Now remember as well, everybody's ear is different. We're not really gonna hear things the same way. Same with the Mackies, I just feel like they sounded like cheap speakers, which is fine because if you can get your mix to sound good on cheap speakers, then that's great. But if you're starting out in production, that might just frustrate you. So that's why I think that the PreSonus ones are a great mix of everything. They're cheap, they sound great. They do offer some acoustic tuning on the back. I definitely recommend you demoing different monitors in your home studio. You know your environment better than anyone else, so kind of watching demos on YouTube doesn't really do anything for you. Will any studio monitors be able to connect to any audio interface from my Mac? Now, I use a Universal Audio Apollo Twin X, but I think most people starting out usually get the Scarlett. And on the back of it, you see here, it has a right and left line output. As long as your audio interface has that, you can use whatever monitors you really want. These outputs are 1/4 inch outputs, so as long as you have something that can go to your monitor, then you'll be fine. Some monitors have RCA inputs, some have XLR inputs, but they make cables for nearly everything. In fact, Sweetwater, not sponsored, has a cable finder that you can actually do exactly what I just said. It really makes it helpful if you don't know what things are called just yet. You can just look at the pictures that they give you and go, oh yeah, that's what mine is. I can just match it up to that. So go check it out, super helpful. So this one is my bass tone good? By the way, I don't have the audio hooked up to the thing, so you're listening through my microphone. Yeah, the audio professional doesn't do it the professional way. It's hard to answer whether something is good or bad, because of course everything is subjective. And also, when you ask, is your bass tone good, in the context of what? I think guitar players and bass players do this a lot, where they are so focused on having that perfect tone that I think sometimes they don't think about the reference of which the tone is in philosophy. What I'm trying to say is compare your tone to what you're playing. Like if you're in a band, instead of just focusing on your tone outside on your own, focus on your tone with your creative members because you want to fit. If I put this bass tone with a jazz band, no, the tone is not good. If I put the tone with something like Muse, then yeah, the tone is good. So before you ask if your tone is good or anything like that, know the context of which you're doing it in. Is there anything that can be used as sort of a reverse compressor? So the way I understand a compressor is that it compresses the dynamic range of something so the loud part gets brought closer to the quiet parts. Is there something to do the reverse of this, so the quiet parts of the track would be made louder and brought closer to the louder parts? Yes. So what you're looking for is a knob called makeup gain. So this is the default Logic compressor. It took me a very long time to understand compression. So if you're starting out and you don't get it and it's just a bunch of knobs, completely understandable. It took me a long time to figure it out. What the user was saying was that they want to make the quiet part just as loud as the loud part versus bringing the loud part all the way down. It's doing the same thing. Rather than taking the quiet part and making it loud or the loud part and making it quiet, it's just taking both parts and making them even. So to bring that all up, there's a tool called makeup gain. But something I can say as well, if your dynamic parts are way too off, chances are you're over compressing and you really need to kind of go back and play both parts and find a good middle ground. So this person's asking compressor ratio for vocals. So I believe that a lot of Avid's plugins are very good out of the box. So I usually use the Dyne 3 compressor on most things. But the other day I accidentally clicked on the vocal comp preset and the ratio was 1.8 to 1. That scared me because I usually use a ratio ranging from 2.5 to 1 to 5 to 1, depending on the mood of the song and trusting my ears for a desirable level of dynamic range. Is this incorrect, or is that preset a very conservative setting? So I would say, in my opinion, from seeing other presets, I think that 1.8 to 1 ratio is fairly conservative. But at the same time, like I said about the whole bass thing, it's all about the context of the song. The higher your ratio, the harder everything is going to sound. Because like again, if you're recording a folk song, you wouldn't really overcompress something because typically you want to make it sound a little more natural. And that's one thing that I don't like about presets. I love them for beginners if you want to understand how different things work or how to make things sound a certain way. But sometimes presets can have us second guessing ourselves and second guessing our ears, which is the most important thing in audio production. We use these things too much, our eyes. So it really just depends. You're not doing anything correct or incorrect. Just listen to your song and listen to how each different ratio affects it. And whatever sounds the best, that's what it is. It's kind of like camera settings. It's very subjective. There's not really a right or wrong answer.
Oh, except my camera settings are way wrong.
We'll do one more. What's better for producing sounds, digital software or physical devices? And these people right here sum it up perfectly. Depends on what kind of sounds that you want to make. Neither is better or worse than the other. There's truly no right or wrong. Couldn't have said it better myself. You'll find that most questions that you have about production, there's not a right or wrong answer. Would you tell Van Gogh that he was painting something wrong? And this also kind of ties into the analog versus digital argument.
It sounds so much better analog. If you're not recording a tape, what are you doing?
It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're creating music and doing something wonderful. And what matters is that you get it to sound the way that you want it to sound, or the way that your client wants it to sound. I have been in circumstances where we've recorded to tape, and I've been in circumstances where you use a tape emulator. And the truth is, no one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. Now, I think when you're creating, I tend to have a lot more fun with analog. There's a lot more limitations, not everything's perfect, and I feel like it opens up this other window of creativity that digital doesn't really offer. Like if I had the option to do a plug-in version of a Juno 60, or if I could use the real one in real life, I'm going with the real one in real life. It just has this charm, funkiness, and imperfection that I personally like in my music. But again, there's no right or wrong answer. Wow, it is very dark. My ISO is going crazy. I'll fix that. So sorry. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope you don't mind that I made a video like this. I know people usually like when I do the actual audio production videos, but with moving and having showings in our house, it's kind of hard to have that stuff set up. But I will try the best I can just to make the best videos that I can. I hope you learned something. I hope something was helpful. If you have any questions that maybe I can answer for you in another video, don't be shy, leave them down in the comments and I'd love to help out. Hit subscribe, like, share if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.